playing sports, by playing capture
Yeah.
the flag outside,
Yeah.
by causing mischief, by being like
Yeah.
fun. We made up games.
Yeah.
We didn't have iPhones and
Yeah.
iPads. We would go out and we would literally be like, okay, we're going to play Pokemon today. I'm going to be Charizard. I'm going to be Blastoise. And we're going to literally
Yeah.
play games out of our creativity. That was my
Right.
childhood. It was
Do the
incredible.
same. It's the greatest.
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
And yet, here I am judging this other person because of what other cool kids thought. Because here I am, I'm a nerd, I'm smart, but I'm also athletic. And I'm also good at sports. I set a record in the pacer in elementary school. I ran 110 times back and forth in the gym with the beep sound, you remember? And I set a record. And it was about my love of myself. Like, it was painful. Of course it sucked to run like that. But I was doing it because, like, I felt invigorated with myself.
Yeah.
And I also thought I was cool because here I am setting
like
records.
social proofing.
Social proofing.
Yeah.
And when I hit puberty, I think my voice changed. Like, I grew up and I was a singer. I could sing when I was in like 5th, 6th grade. You know what I mean? You're a kid. Everyone can sing. First of all, everyone still can sing. Even if people say they can't sing or they can't dance or they can't do this, it's a mind state. If you tell yourself you can't do it, you can't do it. You tell yourself you can do it, you can do it. And people be like, well, you're not in the NBA. Huh? It's like, okay, honestly, if I had wanted to be in the NBA as a kid, I'd be in the NBA. And that wasn't my goal. I didn't have posters on the wall to be an NBA player.
Yeah.
But I believe, and I truly believe this, if you believe in yourself, you can be anything you want.
Yeah, just to the degree, like, I completely believe that too. But the immense amount of like willpower and belief that is required
and discipline
to do some things, and discipline, because the thing is like, there's people that are like, but I really want this thing. But it's like, yeah, but you don't just need to really want it. Like, if you really want it, there's a million things that go along with that, you know?
You gotta live it. You gotta dream it.
I used to do this with training because I'd be like, what are your goals? And it was like one of the snake ass moves to basically trap them into being awesome was like, what are your goals? And they'd say what their goals are. And then basically, you know, not always, it depends on the person, but with a lot of people, like young men specifically, like when I hear what their goals are and like what they want to do, you know what I mean? And like the life they want to have. Like, first off, I question that a lot because it's like, is that really what you want to do? And I'd be like, well, the reason I ask is because to do that, like what I see is that you got to do this, and this. Like in this career, you have to excel. This can't just be, I mean, you need to become the best at this if you expect to be the best at anything else after this. And, you know, and basically like trap them into like, you need to give this your all and use this as your proving grounds then to show yourself that you're capable of becoming the best and excelling at anything else. But if you can't excel at this, how do you expect this? It's the same thing like when like somebody's like working a job like bagging groceries or something.
That's what I did as a kid.
Yeah, it was something in college, and they're like, what? Like, I don't know. Oh, they're like a waitress or a waiter. And then I hear them like, we're at the bars drinking, and it's like a friend of a friend. And they're like, yeah, but I don't really want to do that. Like, I want to do this and stuff. And like, customers always complain with me, this, and this. But one day, you know, like I'm going to do this and like this, and this. And it's like, that's all well and good. But my confusion is like, they expect to be the best at something later. And they're not acute, and they're not even connected with being the best at, like, that's just, it's not just their operating mode is not to just be the best at whatever they're doing. So to me, it brings a lot of questions, is like the skill and mindset of just becoming great at something. If you're not practicing it in nearly everything that you do, especially the things you put the majority of your time into day to day, I don't know. I wouldn't expect, I guess I wouldn't expect those. I don't think those people should expect to be great at the thing they're going to do down the road eventually when it all comes together.
I was one of those people for a long time.
Yeah.
This is kind of coming back to going through experience, going through puberty. My voice changed. I lost a lot of my confidence because I had a girlfriend. Not that made a difference, but I was really cocky and I was very egotistical, and I grew up really smart and being really good at stuff.
It's the mask and cover of an insecure boy.
100%. And here's
even if they're 35.
It's true. It's even if you're 65, even if you're 85, the age doesn't matter.
Yeah.
it's something that like I think about these things is I was lazy. I had friends who did I had one of my good friends, Balaj, he got into Ump a year after I did. He finished the program. He got I quit. I've quit. I quit playing soccer as a kid. I quit playing basketball. And I quit because I gave up on myself. I gave up on my own self-belief that I could be the best. And instead of facing that pain and that fear and the challenge of other people who also felt the same way, I withdrew. And I played a lot of video games. I played World of Warcraft. I played RuneScape. And I still studied. I still read. But I did it for me. I didn't do it for other people. I didn't do it for the class necessarily.
That's huge. Yeah, that's huge.
And it's interesting because like it's like a sine wave. Life's about cycles, right? So I went through as a child where I was really successful at pretty much everything I did because I put the work in. I did put the work in, and I was smart about it. I did it in the right way. And as I got older, I grew up being told I was a smart kid. I was never told I was hardworking. I was told I was smart. You're smart. You're smart. You're smart. So if I ever failed, it wasn't because of me. It was because of something outside of myself. So I grew up as I got older with that kind of mentality through high school. And like I still did well. Like I did well in high school. Like I got into college. Like I'm not saying I didn't do well in the fields, but I didn't really try because I was a smart kid. I don't need to try.
Right. Well, that's one of the huge pitfalls of people that have natural talent at things. So, you know, in sales, right? For me, it's like, oh, you're just good at sales. You're good at sales. You're great at sales. You're a great salesperson. But the truth is, I don't even think, you know, it really wasn't, there wasn't really a reason for me because I'm already like always in the top 5% in whatever sales I do. You know, if there's a group of 2,000 people in the country doing some kind of sales, doesn't matter if it's solar, doesn't matter what it is. Like I'll be in the top 10. But that doesn't mean I'm being great at it, because being great at something is like, are you great for it for yourself? So somebody else who's terrible at sales, like being in the top 50%, that might be them being great at it. So one of the, you know, it's like people are like, oh yeah, well, sucks that you have this problem. It's like, but it is still an issue because people compare themselves to people and they're like, oh yeah, so it's not great for you to be in the top, you know, whatever percent, like because you're not challenging yourself enough. It's like, yeah, but the truth is like being great is just like, it seems like to me, it's something of a self state. So it's like, is it great for you? And it's, you know, it's just like working out in the gym. It's like, you're always competing against yourself and pushing yourself to be great. And so, you know, so I do think one of the big kind of illnesses, if you will, that has struck in a lot of naturally talented people is not finding a society that challenges them. So just going off on their own and doing their own thing, not giving a fuck. And then when they barely try, society says, oh, you're a great salesperson. Like your second year, you haven't gone to college, you made $70,000 in sales. That's great. Wow. You're great. You're smart. And so now your social proofing is telling you that there's nothing that you need to do. Like you're already there. You're already the shit. And so somebody who's like was insecure, is insecure, like will get an ego from it, and then they stop growing because there's no reason to, because society already told them that, hey, you made it, but like you're already a great, you know.
It's programming.
Right. But then there's some of us that's never going to be enough. Like I know for you it was never enough. For me, it's never enough. Like at some like I've been a sucker just like everybody. Or probably most everybody, for that social proofing and programming, and like, oh, that's enough. Like I used to always like go back to my parents or like call my dad and be like, so what do you think about this? And then I realized like it's just like I value his opinion, right? He's a good guy, but at the same time, it's like the reason that I would do that, and I saw my younger brother doing this too, actually. And it's like the reason I would do that is because your opinion of yourself is not enough. You know what I mean? Like, okay, and it's great to get feedback, but there's a balance there. So, you know, and you're the only one that knows if you're pushing yourself and challenging yourself, you know what I mean? And I will say, like, me and Henry both, like, we've gone kind of balls out on challenging ourselves and took some massive risks. And you think about, that's what it took for us both to challenge ourselves in the last, 2 years now? 3 maybe?
Even the fact that we've been talking about podcasting for 3 years, 4 years.
Yeah.
Before it was
Yeah.
cool. Before it
Yeah.
became a thing, we've been talking about this since we lived together. Because
there was a lot of growing I still wanted to do because I'm, you know me, I'm like, I really want to do, like, I do really like, I mean, it's like I either am good jumping in and just winging something and I'm like, fuck yeah, I love it.
Mhm.
Or I really want to do it right. And podcasting was one of those things, like, I really want to, I actually the last 3 years, like, I feel like it was really important for me to like grow and learn. To the point where actually podcasting is just going to amplify that pursuit.
Totally.
You know, and so it's like also the reason why me and Henry doing this podcast is because it's for self-growth. You know what I mean? It's to challenge ourselves more. And I wonder if we could have done a podcast a while back, but I think it's coming at a good time now because it's like, for me anyways, on my end, like, it's this next step in like challenging myself to like continue to articulate and share and do something more valuable, you know, and be more at service to whoever's out there that it could be valuable to, you know.
I find it amazing from the challenge standpoint because I've had this like 5-year plan, and it's a 5-year plan that hasn't been like, I didn't write it down. I didn't say this is the steps I'm going to go. It was just like an intuitive knowing of my plan. And it's kind of sounds ridiculous because here I am. I'm good with money, quote unquote, good with money because I was able to buy a house. I had a good job.
Right.
I was able to save, right?
Right.
And part of that is you learn by experience. I have not worked a job for a year and a half, a year and 7 months. And like, I've made money doing some other side hustles, but I haven't had a traditional 9-to-5 or traditional paycheck, and I've had no security.
Same. Yeah, same.
A lot of my survival has been based off my ability to use what I created before, which was the ability to have credit cards, the ability to own a duplex because I was able to buy it so I get cash flow from renting it. But I have a sheriff sale on my property next week, and people hear that and they're like, what are you doing? You can't do that. You're going to have your home taken away. It's all this bad stuff. And I've talked to some lawyers about bankruptcy.
Yeah.
And I've gone very down the rabbit hole where I ask lawyers questions and they don't have any idea. They have no idea what I'm saying because I'm so far down the rabbit hole of information that they don't know about because they've never experienced it.
Yeah.
And I'm doing this on purpose to learn from experience so I can truly, it makes a significantly better story than me just being a rich kid who got richer.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of wealthy people.
Right, exactly what's expected, right?
And I'm not saying I'm a rich kid, but
there's no clapping when that, you know what I'm saying? Like,
your parents paid for your college. Like, if my parents paid for my college, I'd be in a whole different place.
Yeah, that's what they say. But that's
first of all, you're comparing yourself.
Proven that that's not the case.
You're comparing yourself to other people, and that's already the problem. As we touched earlier, you got to compare yourself.
Henry said this to me a long time ago. He said, if you're comparing yourself to other people, you're losing.
Yeah.
Bang, boom. And I was like, I fucking love that. It's like whenever I've actually said that to a lot of people that I train. I said that to them because they're like, well, I want to do this. Like, I want to do better. You know, it's like competition's great, but when you're comparing yourself to other people, like, you're losing. And it's a good general. Yeah, it's good.
I think you introduced me to the book Relentless by Tim Grover when we were living together. I don't know if that rings a bell. I'm pretty sure you introduced it to me. I was almost positive it was you. Yeah. So Tim Grover is the mental coach for Michael Jordan. He was the coach for Kobe Bryant. He's been the coach, he's been the psychological coach for like the best of everything. Like, he's basically the highest specialization.
I don't know if I've had some audiobooks that I basically like completely absorbed, but like, I don't remember the names because I gone through them. I don't know if it was me.
Okay, well, regardless, I think of you when I think of it.
Sounds like a book I want to read, though.
It's 100% because it's a book on mindset.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of stories.
Almost all the books I read are on mindset. Yeah,
totally. And there's basically it's this idea of, you hear stories of Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, for people, a lot of people don't know this. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. It just doesn't make any sense.
What the fuck?
Like, anyone who looks backwards at it, it makes total sense, right? It gave him the drive to pursue it, even though people told him he couldn't do it, even though people told it was impossible. You're not big enough. You're not fast enough. Whatever the heck it is, what doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All that negative framing outside of himself.
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant, when he goes to practice, he'll go warm up before the game. And there's some stories of some athletes who trained with him. Kobe will go 5-6 hours before the game. He'll start practicing. He'll be warming up. And there'll be people who will show up who will also practice because they're like, okay, I'm a hard worker too. I'm going to get out there. No matter what, Kobe Bryant will stay there. Even if you're there for 5 hours, he'll still be there. You'll be there for 6 hours. He'll still be there. And there's a story. I'm blanking on the guy's name who talked to Kobe Bryant. It was just not a podcast. I think it was Joe Rogan. And he went up to Kobe and he's like, Kobe, like, why are you still here? Like he's already won championships. He's won because he says, you have to know that I'm willing to outwork you. Because the only reason I'm still here is because you're still here. If he had left, Kobe might have left.
Yeah.
But it's a mental game of saying, I'm going to outwork you.
Yeah.
And this is an area where, like, I'm a lazy person in a lot of ways. I'm lazy when it comes to social media. I barely do Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I'm lazy when it comes to learning skills a lot of the time because I end up distracting myself. I'm focused on being me. That is learning backwards. I learn very differently than a lot of people. I question a lot of things. But when I'm doing something, when I'm there, I bring in my energy. I'm bringing everything. I'm bringing all of it, and it fucking pushes people. I play basketball with people, and I trigger people all the time. I trigger people to be the best version of themselves. I want to be the guy who has the team of 4 kids who barely know how to play basketball, and I want to take that team to beat the team that's significantly better than us.
Fuck yeah. Yeah.
Because I believe that if you believe in yourself, you will be significantly better. Basketball is confidence.
Yeah.
I have struggled sometimes playing basketball because I lacked my own confidence with myself because I knew I was the guy who had to take the last shot, and I was scared to be the person to take the last shot.
Yeah. I was like that in basketball too for a while. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it really does. And for anybody that plays basketball, I think that's like, oh yeah. Yeah, because I will say like a great player in basketball, and it's probably with most sports, but I think me and Henry we have the most experience with basketball. When you really believe in yourself and you're feeling your flow, like a great player can inject that into the people around them
100%.
and basically it rubs on their entire team, and their whole team like is believing in themselves and working together and believing in this cohesive consciousness unit that is winning, and overcoming and that actually that is probably an incredible skill to have no matter what you do, and bring that into like your team at work, bring that into anything that you do, your relationship, you know what I mean? But I think Henry's spot on that it starts by completely believing in yourself and
it's fucking hard.
Loving and knowing yourself. Yeah, it really is
fucking hard.
Well, and for every person that really truly like believes in themselves, like it's the same thing. Like when you know, like when you meet somebody that does, like everybody feels it. But then for every person that's like that, there's 100 people that you think maybe they really believe in themselves.
Well,
and
you can say
society taught us. So that's what society taught a lot of times. Like I can't tell you how many people are like fake it till you make it. That's just the mindset. It's like, oh, really? It's like, well, look, I was good at faking it and making it, right? Like honestly, faking it and making it is not that fucking hard. It's not.
No,
like,
it's not.
And I know people out there are like, ooh, but it's like, no, it's seriously like it's actually the fucking easy path. Like understanding something, like really knowing yourself and like resonating and learning and being like this sponge for like knowledge and conceptualization, and like turning that into like creative like production that enhances what already is in a team or a company or a product or an idea is that's hard. And it's the most fun thing ever. Like I love doing it. Otherwise I wouldn't do it. You know what I mean? But it is very hard, but it's also very valued, but it's, you don't do that without like really believing in like getting into your being and understanding like your being and shout out to Eckhart Tolle book about the power of now. I mean, like for those of us who weren't blessed with Eckhart Tolle in the womb, like Henry.
Isaac.
We were joking about that before. We were joking about what is that, like a friend of ours or like somebody who, yeah.
One of your best friends, man.
Yeah.
We'll have him on here.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well, I just basically brought him up. Like he's one of my best friends, and we like did these Cali trips together early on, like road trips. And he has such a traveled soul. And he's like the things that like, like that I've worked really like hard on to like learn and understand. Like, I feel like, I mean, I'm a natural in a lot of ways, but I feel like my friend Isaac is yeah, I was joking. He was born like listening to Eckhart Tolle in the womb. So like he just came out with Eckhart Tolle's knowledge and was like, oh, and I didn't even appreciate it at first, but it was because he's so humble. Like it was like I didn't notice it at a younger age, and as I've gotten older, I've been like, damn, that dude just like he's impressed me more and more as I've gotten older. So yeah, we'll have him on sometime.
Well, I think it's another thing, and I say this because I come back to myself. Because for a long time, I was like, I'm not a leader.
Yeah.
And I don't even consider myself a leader nowadays. My ego does. My ego thinks I'm a leader, but my true self doesn't. My true self truly believes that the only person who can lead you is yourself. And sometimes we're lucky to have role models or influences in our life that walk the walk. And I'm a great talker, and I can talk. I've never done sales in my life, but people think I know what I'm talking about most of the time because of how I hold myself.
Yeah.
And I've always been able to fake that because I actually worked in, we talked about this a little earlier, is I worked bagging groceries as a kid.
Yeah.
It's like my first job. Well, I hustled before I was 12. I did like lemonade stands, random things like that.
Yeah.
I worked at a grocery store.
Hustle, man. Kid economics.
Kid economics is a real thing too.
Yeah. The most important lesson is learning that if you play by the rules at the arcade, you're never going to get your money's worth.
Well, I think that's how the world works about playing by the rules anyway. Because if you look at the people who have been truly successful, they create the rules.
Right. So instead of money's worth, put energy and effort's worth and sacrifices worth. Like you won't get paid back by playing by the rules. You play by the rules, you're going to pay money out on your debt. You're going to pay money out on everything that you purchase. You're going to be like, you're going to be owned, you know what I mean? And 50% of your work a year, even if you work really hard and make good money, is basically 50% of the year. You're not working for yourself. You're working for the government. And,
and every other person who's sucking off that teat.
Right. And so if you're just looking at a financial return, right? So that's why I really believe that people should be not just working for a financial return, but for like an intrinsic growth return. And because I guess it's easier to bear the bludgeon that is the knowledge of where your work is really going and how, like, for good and for bad, because it is for good in some ways, but a huge amount of your energy and effort each year is being bled into something that you have no control over. And I will say, we'll get into this in a different podcast, but there are a lot of business tactics where you create like a second company. And you get registered as an official nonprofit. There's a lot of things you can do to reharness that lost energy and effort and power from your company and your workings, or that the owner of your company can do to kind of send, basically, instead of it being bled to something you don't have control over, it's going to be bled anyways, but bleeding it out towards something that you want it to go to, or a large percentage of it. And there's ways to do that, but for the average person, and for the average highly successful person, they don't have any control over it. You know what I mean? They're just, a part of their work's always going out. So that intrinsic return, if you're looking for straight financial, that's just how it is. But intrinsically, getting something out of your job, getting enjoyment is, I used to laugh at that because I was like, oh no, I'm going to make money.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people are like that too, though.
I used to be like that. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to just make money. You know what I mean? I'm going to work hard and make money and fuck it. Like if I want something, I'll work harder and get smarter and work, but then at some point, and it's silly, but it takes some amount of like financial success. And like, for me, it wasn't like hundreds of thousands a year, but like 90, a year for me to be like,
that's more than I've ever made.
Well, that's what it took for me to like, and a big fish in a small pond, right? Mm-hmm. For me to be like, okay, what more do I want? And if I put the same amount of energy into something in a bigger pond, like, could I have a positive effect and potentially earn like a few $100,000 a year, which is a means to a freedom and for traveling and more intrinsic growth, you know, and to empower other people, because it does take capital to start companies and empower other people and create other leaders, you know what I mean? And kind of spread the love, but in a lot of ways, you know, but
I probably spent more money on self-improvement classes, I'm not kidding, on books. Like I got a ton back here.
I was paying Henry $500 in rent a month. When I was paying you $500 in rent a month, I had 2 months in a row. One for sure. Maybe it wasn't in a row, but there was 2 different months where I spent more money on audiobooks and like literally just on audiobooks. And it was like audiobooks and a few other things that were all about like self-work, intrinsic work. Was like a workout program, or I forget what all.
I took the money from you to invest in my own, my own self-worth, self-product. And here's the thing: is it's really interesting because that in itself is a sales tactic, and that's where they actually catch a lot of people, because a lot of people, and I've been one of those people, and I think a lot of us have, is you do all the self-work, but you keep looking for more self-work.
Instead of
executing what you've already learned.
Yeah.
That's something that I'm kind of realizing a lot within pretty much every community, whether it's in the banking finance community, whether it's sales, whether it's, I've only taught a few classes, but I've been a Kundalini teacher trained. Even with Kundalini and seeing the yoga group, it's the same thing. They basically have hierarchies of the highest level people to learn from. Yet it costs more and more money to learn from them. And the question is I actually believe you get what you put in. So if you're putting thousands of dollars into the top course, it will come back to you. And it's hard for a lot of people to justify it, because like I've never been to a Tony Robbins course or anything like that. And I think it sounds wonderful. And people are like, why would you spend $10,000 to go to a course? And it's about energy. It's about raising your frequency. You become like people you hang out with. So if I have an opportunity to hang out with these people who are really, really, really successful, that's only going to rub off on me in a positive way.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. It does. And something I'll add to that might help. So energy that you put into something, like money is a form of energy. Like you had some of us have to spend a lot more energy to make $10,000 than others. So it doesn't really matter who you are. It's what that money is to you, how much energy that is. So I think with part of the Tony Robbins strategy, I think, is you put $10,000 is a good amount for anybody, right? Almost anybody, for the average person going there. And honestly,
it's a ton of money for everybody.
If it's not, then they're probably not going to do it because they don't need to learn what he's trying to share, right? So what that does, like, you could do it for free, right? But when you give up something, you put energy into something, like you're prepping yourself to expect a return and allow yourself to receive it. Because, and I think that's part of the strategy with his, whatever, his big fiestas, whatever you want to call it. But I think it's part of the strategy, because it's the same thing. You like buy a book. Like if you bought a book that's like $40, you're like, okay, maybe not. But when you spend thousands of dollars, like for traveling, right? You spend thousands of dollars. Like even there's a book called Vagabonding by Ralph Potts. Love that book. And he talks about
one of Ferris's favorites.
Yeah. He talks about that's where I got it. He talks about the trust fund kid that travels to seek enlightenment and like learn themselves, right? And look, it's not like a proven out concept with a bunch of controls, but I think most people will understand that when that money is just given to them and they travel, they put zero energy in to then go out and receive anything. And like by human nature, if you put zero energy into something to then expect to receive, like you kind of will not allow yourself to receive. And now there's like there's probably like some cognitive tactics to basically just become like a black hole consumer. That's like me, like I deserve. But that, and consume things and receive. But that also has its own negative impacts if you try to hack that like basic system that humans operate in. So that energy you put in, if you don't put energy into something, like it's not that you won't receive something as much as it is you won't allow yourself to receive something.
You're leeching.
Yeah, cause and so if you do, it may be short lived, or if you do, it like it gets weird. And I don't want to speculate on that too much because I very much am like light side baby.
So this is
I
an
wanna get-
interesting thing because first of all that resonates because I felt that way about college. I was still able, like I graduated college a semester early. I switched majors and I still had that because of what I had worked on before.
Yeah.
But I also think if I had been paying out of pocket or if I had been paying with debt or a different instrument, I would have put more energy into my school. And I'm not saying I didn't put energy into school. Like I still did pretty well and I still graduated and all that jazz. But because of it wasn't the energy